before the sun rises tomorrow. What I am about to tell you will change how you see everything that came before this moment. Do not scroll past these words. Do not tell yourself you will come back to them later. Right now, in this exact moment, you are standing at the edge of something that matters more than you realize. You think you simply survived another difficult chapter, another season of waiting that tested your patience, another stretch of silence that made you question everything. But what you walked through was not what it appeared to be. It was not random. It was not meaningless. It was not punishment for something you did wrong. It was a test, and you passed it without even knowing you were being evaluated. Stay with me now. I know you are tired of hearing that breakthrough is coming. I know part of you has stopped believing in promises that feel too good to be true. But this is not a promise about tomorrow. This is truth about yesterday. About what already happened while you were not looking. You have spent months, maybe years, thinking you were failing, thinking you were falling behind, thinking you were not doing enough, not growing fast enough, not changing fast enough. But I was watching something entirely different unfold. While you were counting your mistakes, I was counting your moments of integrity. While you were measuring your progress by what you could see, I was measuring your transformation by what you could not. The test was never about perfection. It was about presence. It was about whether you would stay true to yourself when nothing else stayed constant. And you did. You stayed when leaving would have been easier. You stayed when silence felt unbearable. You stayed when every part of you wanted to run, to hide, to numb yourself, to give up. That staying was not weakness. It was the answer to a question I never asked out loud. Let me tell you what I was really watching for. I was watching whether you would remain kind when life was unkind to you. Whether you would keep your heart soft when circumstances tried to make it hard. I saw you on mornings when getting out of bed felt impossible, when the weight of another day pressed down before you even opened your eyes. But you got up anyway. Not with strength you felt, but with strength you chose. That choice mattered more than you know. I watched how you spoke to yourself in private moments, when no one else could hear the voice inside your head. You were not always gentle with yourself. You said things to yourself you would never say to someone you love, but over time something shifted. You began to pause before the cruelty took root. You began to question the harshness. You began slowly to speak to yourself the way I speak to you. That shift was not small, it was monumental. I noticed the conversations you had when you were exhausted. When someone asked how you were doing and you wanted to lie, to say fine to protect them from your reality. Sometimes you did say fine, but other times, you told the truth. You said struggling. You said tired. You said I do not know. That honesty cost you comfort, but it built you character. I saw you wrestle with questions that had no easy answers, questions about purpose, about worth, about whether any of this matters. You did not pretend to have clarity you did not feel. You sat with the uncertainty. You let the questions be questions without forcing them into answers. That patience revealed maturity most people never develop. If you have felt the weight I am describing, if these words are landing in places that have been silent for too long, type the words I am listening in the comments below. I want to see who is truly present with me right now. I watched what you did when no one was paying attention. When there was no audience, no applause, no recognition waiting on the other side of your effort. You still showed up. You still did what needed to be done, not because it would be noticed, but because it was right. That integrity in hidden moments is what defines readiness. I observed how you handled disappointment when plans fell apart, when something you hoped for did not happen, when timing did not align the way you needed it to. You felt the disappointment fully. You did not deny it or push it away, but you also did not let it become bitterness. You let yourself grieve what did not happen, and then you kept moving forward. That balance is rare. I witnessed your response when others succeeded while you were still waiting, when people around you received what you were praying for. Jealousy whispered. Comparison tried to take root. The voice of inadequacy grew loud. But you did not let those feelings define your actions. You celebrated others even when celebration felt costly. You chose generosity over resentment. That generosity revealed the condition of your heart. I saw you in moments when control slipped through your fingers, when you could not fix what was broken, could not force what was stuck, could not make things move faster. You had to learn to release your grip, to let outcomes unfold without micromanaging every detail. That surrender was not defeat. It was trust taking shape in real time. I noticed how you treated people when you were hurting, when your own pain was so consuming. It would have been easy to become self-absorbed, impatient, sharp. But you did not lose your capacity for compassion. You still saw others. You still made space for their struggles even when yours felt overwhelming. That awareness in the middle of your own storm showed me you were becoming someone who could carry weight without collapsing under it. I watched you navigate temptation. Not just the obvious kind, but the subtle kind that whispers in moments of vulnerability. The temptation to numb yourself with distractions that feel harmless but leave you emptier. The temptation to become cynical, to protect yourself by caring less, by expecting nothing. You felt those pulls. You did not deny their presence, but you did not let them redefine who you are. That restraint was evidence of growth happening beneath the surface. I saw you return after doubt, after moments when you were not sure you believed anymore, not sure you trusted anymore, not sure any of this was real. Doubt did not disqualify you. What mattered was that you came back. You did not stay in that distant place. You found your way home, even if the path back was slow and uncertain. That return told me everything I needed to know. I observed your relationship with time, how you responded when things took longer than expected. When breakthrough did not come on your timeline, you had to release deadlines you held tightly. You had to accept that your calendar and mind do not always align. Acceptance was not resignation. It was wisdom recognizing that good things are worth waiting for. If you are beginning to see yourself differently through these words, if something inside you is shifting as you listen, consider subscribing so tomorrow's message reaches you. You are part of something unfolding, and I do not want you to miss what comes next. Let me tell you what else I was watching during this test. Things you did not realize mattered, things that seemed insignificant in the moment but revealed everything about who you are becoming. I watched how you started your mornings before you picked up your phone, before you faced the demands of the day. In those first quiet moments when you were alone with your thoughts. Some mornings you woke with gratitude, other mornings you woke with dread. But what mattered was what you did with those feelings. Did you let dread dictate your day? Or did you acknowledge it and choose to move forward anyway? You chose to move forward. That choice, repeated hundreds of times, built momentum you could not see but I could measure. I noticed how you responded when plans changed suddenly, when something you counted on fell through, when you had to pivot without warning. Rigidity breaks under sudden pressure, but you had been developing flexibility without knowing it. You adapted. You found new routes. You did not cling to the way things were supposed to be. That adaptability is what will carry you through seasons that demand constant adjustment. I saw you in moments of celebration when others shared good news, when success stories surrounded you while your own progress felt slow. The temptation to compare is powerful. To measure your chapter against someone else's highlight reel, to feel less than because their timeline is different from yours. But you resisted that temptation more often than you gave into it. You celebrated genuinely. You let other people's wins inspire you instead of diminish you. That generosity of spirit cannot be taught. It can only be chosen, and you chose it. I watched how you handled information overload, when advice came from every direction, when everyone had opinions about what you should do next. The noise was overwhelming. The voices were contradictory. The pressure to have it all figured out was immense. But you learned to filter, to discern, to listen deeply beneath the surface noise for the voice that matters most. You stopped asking everyone for permission. You stopped seeking external validation for internal knowing. That discernment is what will guide you when choices become more complex. I noticed the way you treated your body, whether you saw it as a tool to be used or a temple to be honored. For a long time, you pushed through pain. You ignored exhaustion. You demanded performance without offering care. But something shifted. You began to listen, to rest when rest was needed, to fuel yourself properly, to move with intention instead of compulsion. That shift was not about vanity. It was about recognizing that you are a whole person, not just a mind pushing a body through tasks. I saw you navigate financial pressure when resources were tight, when decisions had to be made about what to prioritize. Fear whispered that there would not be enough. Scarcity tried to dictate your choices, but you practiced generosity even when it felt risky. You gave even when you were not sure you had enough to give. That generosity broke the power of fear. Dear family, I want to share something important with you all. Recently, our channel has been demonetized by YouTube, which means we no longer receive any earnings from our videos. Each video takes a lot of time, effort, editing, and resources to create. But we still want to continue spreading these powerful and uplifting messages to you. We truly wish to keep this channel alive and continue our mission, but doing this without any support is becoming very difficult. If our content has ever helped you, inspired you, or supported you in any way, we humbly request your support through Buy Me a Coffee. Even a small contribution helps us continue this journey. The support link is available in the comment section and the description. Thank you for your love, support, and prayers. God bless you. It declared trust in ways words alone could not. I watched how you held your dreams, whether they became idols that consumed you or visions that guided you. There is a difference. Idols demand worship. They take over. They convince you that your worth depends on achieving them, but visions inspire without enslaving. They pull you forward without crushing you when the path is slow. You learn to hold your dreams as visions, not idols. To pursue them with passion but not desperation. That balance will keep you sane as opportunity increases. I observed how you responded to silence. Not just my silence, but the silence of others. When people who once spoke into your life went quiet, silence can feel like rejection, like abandonment, like proof that you are alone. But you learn to interpret silence differently, to see it as space, as invitation to go deeper, as room for your own voice to emerge. That reinterpretation transformed isolation into solitude, loneliness into sacred alone time. I noticed your curiosity, whether you approached life with wonder or weariness, whether you asked questions or accepted surface answers. Weariness says, I have seen it all before. Curiosity says there is always more to discover. You maintained your curiosity. You asked why. You dug beneath easy explanations. You refused to settle for shallow understanding. That curiosity is what keeps faith alive when religion tries to make everything formulaic. I watched how you handled your own growth. Whether you celebrated progress or dismissed it as not enough. Growth is often invisible in the moment. It shows up in hindsight, in how you handle today what would have broken you yesterday. You were hard on yourself. You minimized your wins. You focused on how far you still had to go instead of how far you had come. But I was keeping record. I was noting every step forward, every small victory you did not count, and those small victories added up to massive transformation. I saw you practice patience, not the kind that passively waits, but the kind that actively trusts, that keeps working while waiting, that prepares in the pause. You did not waste the waiting, you used it. You learned in it. You let it refine you instead of embitter you. That active patience is what turns waiting into preparation instead of punishment. I watched how you handled your own expectations. Expectations can motivate, but they can also become prisons when they are not met. You learn to hold your hopes with open hands instead of clenched fists. You learn to want without demanding, to hope without inquiring. That flexibility created space for me to work in ways you could not have orchestrated yourself. Think about the timelines you drew up in your mind, the dates you circled on calendars, the deadlines you set for when things should happen. When those dates passed and nothing changed, I watched how you responded. You did not crumble entirely. You did not abandon hope altogether. You adjusted. You recalibrated. You learned to hold plans loosely. That adjustment was painful, but it was necessary, because the breakthrough you were demanding on your timeline would have come with weight you were not yet ready to carry. I saw you in late-night moments, lying awake, replaying conversations and decisions, wondering if you said the wrong thing, wondering if you chose the wrong path. The spiral of what-ifs tried to consume you. The weight of second-guessing pressed down. But over time, you learned to release what you cannot change. You learned that rehashing the past does not rewrite it. You began to trust that even your mistakes were being woven into something meaningful. That trust did not come easily. It came through repetition, through choosing again and again to believe that nothing is wasted in my hands. I noticed the moments you wanted to quit but did not. Not the dramatic moments where quitting would have been obvious. The small moments, the ordinary days when continuing felt pointless. When no one would have blamed you for stopping, you kept going. Not with enthusiasm, not with confidence, but with a quiet determination that said, I am not done yet. That determination is what separates those who finish from those who stop just before breakthrough arrives. I watched how you navigated transitions, when relationships changed, when roles shifted, when what was familiar became unfamiliar. Transition is disorienting. It strips away certainty. It asks you to walk forward when you cannot see the path clearly. You allowed yourself to feel the discomfort without demanding it resolve immediately. You sat in the in-between space. Most people rush through transition, trying to get back to solid ground as quickly as possible. But you lingered. You let the transition teach you. That lingering allowed transformation that rushing would have bypassed. I saw you make peace with your limitations. You are not infinite. You do not have endless energy, endless capacity, endless strengths. For a long time, you fought against your limits. You pushed past exhaustion. You ignored signals your body and mind were sending. But eventually, you learned to honor your boundaries, to say no when necessary, to rest without guilt. That honoring of limits was not weakness. It was stewardship of the life I gave you. I observed how you responded to seasons of abundance after long seasons of lack, when relief finally came. When provision showed up, when ease replaced difficulty. Some people become reckless in abundance. They forget what scarcity taught them. They spend carelessly what came to them carefully. But you remained grounded. You stewarded well what was entrusted to you. You remembered what it felt like to have nothing. That memory kept you grateful and wise. I watched you handle criticism when someone misunderstood your motives, when your efforts were questioned, when judgment felt harsh and unfair. The instinct to defend yourself rose up. The desire to explain, to justify, to prove them wrong. Sometimes you did defend yourself, but other times, you chose silence. You let misunderstanding exist without needing to correct it. That restraint showed me you were learning that not every accusation requires a response. I noticed the way you carried other people's pain, how you listened to stories that were heavy, how you held space for grief that was not yours. You did not try to fix what could not be fixed. You did not rush to offer solutions or silver linings. You just sat with people in their darkness. You let them be seen in their struggle without needing them to be okay. That presence is a rare gift. Most people are too uncomfortable with pain to simply witness it. I saw you honor commitments when honoring them was costly, when keeping your word required sacrifice, when following through meant delaying what you wanted. Integrity is easy when it costs nothing. Real integrity shows up when the cost is high. You paid that cost again and again, even when no one noticed, even when breaking your word would have been easier. That consistency built a reputation in places you cannot see. Trust was being established in realms beyond your awareness. I noticed your humility. Not the false kind that diminishes your value, but the real kind that admits when you do not have answers. You said, I do not know, more often. You asked for help instead of pretending you had it all together. You let people see you in process, not just in completion. That vulnerability invited connection and growth that pride would have blocked. I saw you stay teachable. You did not cling to being right. You listened when truth challenged your assumptions. You changed your mind when evidence pointed in a different direction. That openness to being wrong is what allows wisdom to take root and grow. I witnessed how you responded to correction, when someone pointed out a blind spot, when feedback felt uncomfortable, when growth required acknowledging you had been mistaken. You did not become defensive. You did not justify or explain away. You considered what was true, even when truth was inconvenient. That receptivity showed me you value growth more than comfort. I watched you practice gratitude when gratitude felt difficult, when circumstances did not warrant thankfulness, when finding something to appreciate required intentional effort. You looked for light in dark places. You named blessings even when they felt small. You chose to see what was present instead of only what was missing. That choice shifted your internal landscape more than you realize. I noticed how you handled success when it did come, the small wins, the incremental progress, the moments when things finally worked. You did not take credit you did not deserve. You did not become arrogant or assume you had arrived. You remained grounded, grateful, aware that every good thing is a gift. That grounding will protect you as more comes your way. I saw you forgive, not just others, but yourself. You released grudges you have been holding against your own past choices. You stopped punishing yourself for things you cannot change. That self-compassion created space for healing that judgment never could. I observed your consistency, not perfection, but showing up. Day after day in small, unremarkable ways, you remained faithful to what mattered. You prayed even when prayer felt empty. You read even when words did not sink in. You extend kindness even when you received none in return. That consistency built a foundation strong enough to hold what is coming. Fresh like if you are ready to stop seeing your past as wasted time and start seeing it as sacred preparation. This small act of agreement opens your heart to receive what I am about to reveal. Everything you thought disqualified you was actually qualifying you. The questions were not evidence of weak faith. They were evidence of honest faith. The waiting was not punishment for something you did wrong. It was preparation for something you are about to step into. The silence was not absence. It was me working in ways that required privacy, reshaping things behind the scenes while you focused on what was in front of you. You were never being punished. You were being prepared. And now I need you to understand what changes between us going forward. You are not the same person who entered this season. You are steadier. You are more grounded. You are less driven by fear and more anchored in trust. That internal shift changes what I can entrust to you. I can speak to you differently now. I can give you clarity that would have overwhelmed you before. I can lead you into spaces that would have crushed you if you had entered them unprepared. The test revealed you are ready, not because you are perfect, not because you have arrived, but because you have demonstrated the qualities that matter most. Faithfulness in small, unseen moments. Honesty when pretending would be easier. Trust when answers are not immediately available. These are the traits that determine whether someone can carry what comes next without losing themselves in the process. You have those traits now, not because you were born with them, but because you developed them through every hard day you did not quit. Tomorrow is not just another day. It carries different weight, different opportunity, different closeness between us. And I need you to enter it understanding what you came through and why it mattered. If you move forward still calling your past a failure, you will misinterpret what I am doing next. You will think new responsibility is pressure instead of invitation. You will mistake growth for burden. You will question whether you are ready. But you are ready. And I will not let you step into tomorrow doubting what I have already confirmed. You passed the test, not with perfection, but with persistence, not with certainty, but with willingness. And that is what I was looking for all along. What you are about to step into is not something you earned. It is something you became ready to receive. There is a difference. Earning a prize, you had to prove yourself worthy. Readiness means you were shaped into someone who can carry what is coming without it destroying you. That shaping happened in the test. In the waiting, in the silence, in the moments you thought were meaningless. Nothing was wasted. Every hard day served a purpose. Every unanswered question taught you to trust beyond understanding. You are standing at a threshold, and before you cross it, you need to release the shame you attach to your struggle. Shame says you should have been stronger, faster, better. But meaning says you were becoming ready. Shame looks back with regret, but meaning looks back with recognition that every step was necessary. Let me show you what was really happening while you thought you were failing. When you felt stuck, you were actually being rooted, like a tree that cannot grow tall until its roots grow deep. The visible growth you wanted could not happen until the invisible foundation was strong enough to support it. You were not stuck. You were being established. When you felt alone, you were actually being prepared for solitude that does not feel like loneliness, for silence that feels like communion instead of abandonment. You cannot lead from a place of need if you never learn to be whole in aloneness. That aloneness was teaching you self-sufficiency. That is not the same as independence from me. It was teaching you that you are complete, not because you have everything, but because you know who holds everything. When you felt overlooked, you were actually being protected from visibility that would have come before you were ready for its weight. Influence without character destroys. Platform without depth crumbles. Recognition without readiness becomes a burden that crushes. I was not withholding visibility as punishment. I was withholding it as protection, because I saw what you could not. I saw that the version of you who craved recognition was not yet the version who could steward it well. But now, you are different. The test changed you, and that changes what I can trust you with. When you felt misunderstood, you were actually learning that being known by me is enough. That you do not need everyone to get you. The need for universal approval enslaves, but the security of being fully known by the one who made you liberates. You learn to let people misunderstand without needing to correct every wrong impression. That freedom is priceless. When you felt behind, you were actually right on time. Because my timing is not about racing others. It is about arriving at the right place as the right person. Early arrival would have meant arriving as someone unready. The delay was making sure you arrived ready. You are not behind. You are precisely where you need to be, carrying exactly what this moment requires. I need you to see your past through my eyes now, not as failure but as formation, not as delay but as development. When you see it that way, you will walk into tomorrow with confidence instead of doubt, with anticipation instead of anxiety. You will know you are not stepping into something you have to figure out alone. You are stepping into something I have been preparing you for all along. Write the words "I receive this" in the comments if you are ready to release old narratives and embrace what I have been telling you. Let your declaration become your agreement. This is why I spoke before tomorrow, because timing matters, because understanding must come before movement. If you had stepped forward without this clarity, you would have carried old doubts into a new season. You would have questioned every decision, second-guessed every step. But now you know, you passed, you are ready, and tomorrow is not something to fear. It is something to walk into with your head up, your heart open, your spirit anchored in the truth of who you have become. You are not who you were when this test began. You are stronger, wiser, more grounded, more trusting, and what comes next is designed for who you are now, not who you used to be. Do not underestimate yourself. Do not downplay your growth. Do not dismiss the transformation that happened in quiet, hidden ways. I see it, I see you, and I am telling you that you are ready. Tomorrow changes things between us. Not because I am different, but because you are. You can hear me more clearly now. You can trust me more deeply now. You can follow me more confidently now. That is what passing the test means. It means the relationship shifts from striving to receiving, from proving to becoming. You no longer have to convince me of anything. I already know what you are capable of because I watched you do it when no one else was looking. Now you get to step into what has been waiting for someone exactly like you. Someone who stayed, someone who trusted, someone who remained faithful in small unseen ways. That someone is you. And tomorrow, everything shifts. Dear family, I want to share something important with you all. Recently, our channel has been demonetized by YouTube, which means we no longer receive any earnings from our videos. Each video takes a lot of time, effort, editing, and resources to create. But we still want to continue spreading these powerful and uplifting messages to you. We truly wish to keep this channel alive and continue our mission, but doing this without any support is becoming very difficult. If our content has ever helped you, inspired you, or supported you in any way, we humbly request your support through Buy Me a Coffee. Even a small contribution helps us continue this journey. The support link is available in the comment section and the description. Thank you for your love, support, and prayers. God bless you.